it seemed to work. Now, the one thing I didn't notice was flows, as we would talk about it in Tai-Chi, which are more, let's call it, dealing with the energy of this dimension. You're dealing with an energy, I think, that's very, very, very high frequency. Okay,
yes,
that's number one.
It is what it is. Mm-hmm.
Right. And as I was hoping, it works more in the spiritual end of it than it does in the physical side of it. It probably works on the physical side too for those that need it, but it works through such a wide range that if you don't need it for the lower frequencies, or let's say when you say lower frequencies, I'm talking about the building of the chakras. Mm-hmm. If you're, many people are centered in the first three chakras. Okay.
Right.
And if they're centered in the first three chakras, this will help them to move up to the next one. But it's not going to necessarily take them from where they're at all the way to the highest level possible. I mean, they still have to put their own input into that to make that happen.
Yes.
What I was feeling was that it was taking me up where I needed to go. It did three things right off the bat. I've had my gallbladder out, and the first thing it did was it paid attention to my gallbladder. Okay. Mm-hmm. Came in and it went down there, and it did some things down there that I was trying to recognize what it was doing. Couldn't quite get to it. Then it went over to this hand, and went into this wrist, and right into this area. And again, it stayed there. At first, it went in hard, and then it changed the environment of the hand until it started vibrating at a nice, relaxed level. And then from there, it just kind of went into a very, very high state. Hit up here in the third eye, in the sinus areas, and then I was hoping to feel more up here in the top chakra, what we call the crown point. Mm-hmm. But it didn't seem to get. It was there, but it wasn't there. If you know what I'm talking about.
Yes, I know.
There was a sense that it was doing something there, but it wasn't a very strong input. Now, when we do Tai Chi, and when I'm doing, let's say when I'm circulating, you're feeling the energy circulating through your body, which is body energy. So it's more in this plane of existence. This energy was not. This energy was very, 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 very fine and very highly tuned, for me anyway. So it was doing what I was hoping it would do. I believe it was working in the area of the auras coming out from your body. Mm-hmm. You've got
the energy
7 or 8 different levels coming out that have
the
blemishes and all those kind of things in it, and it's going to straighten those out. It's going to work in that level.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I got the feeling that a majority of the time that I was under the light, it was working in those areas. The coolness that you're talking about,
the chill.
I'm not unfamiliar with that.
Okay.
My hands, if you probably touch me, they're probably still cold to your touch. Okay. But that's a bringing in of energy into the system of the aura around you, and making that stronger, building the density out from the center, and then taking away the blemishes or anything that might be happening in there. I think it's a very strong session. I could see that this is a very good tool for a lot of people, especially people who are having health problems. It would be used as an adjunct to
their own practices.
Right, and to what I was getting at was like Dr. Oksana and her ability to, if somebody's really hurt, physically injured, or having problems with their internal systems, Dr. Oksana, with the machine she was using, would pick up all of the different requirements of what's taking place in the acupuncture meridians. That's the lower level stuff I was telling you about, maybe the first 3, 4 centers. And she's using the Ayurvedic herbs to rebalance. Okay, that gets the person back to where they were at. This would help get them back to where they're at, and then move them up a little bit higher. Okay.
Yes.
To make it work better for them. It would be interesting to hear the fellow that was here that was doing Qigong, where did he feel it was centering for him? Mm-hmm. Because it would give you an idea also of when you're working with different people, where are they coming from?
Yes, I had interviews, not exactly interviews, but feedback from different people, and it's different for everyone. Some are tuned more into their body, so they can really feel where it's going. Yeah. I had a chiropractor here who is very tuned into all this spiritual stuff. So she said right away she had a goiter, and she said right away it went here to work on it. Yeah, she felt it, and it was amazing. She was here 3 times a week because she's close. She's downstairs basically, and she was amazed how her goiter was held.
Oh, it will. And the other thing that I noticed when I was in there, again, these kinds of things, depending upon who you tell them to, they see it from a different light. Mm-hmm. There were, like you were saying, there were at certain points in there was a man standing next to me, working on me. Mm. Okay. I couldn't quite tell what he was doing. Then at one point there were 3 people working from the head, doing something up around, they came around this side of the bench where I was at. And it became very obvious you could see them. I could see them in my mind standing there. So there are others from the other side that are actually doing that psychic surgery, if you wanted to call it that are in there.
They call it spiritual interventions now back in Kasar. And I had this experience myself back there when I had Dr. Augusta, who is on the right from John of God, his portrait, standing up on me, and just, I don't know what he was doing, but it was so warm and nice and peaceful, and I knew I am safe.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, when they're here to help you, there's a feeling of ease, lack of tension. See, now what's happening with me as I'm sitting here right now is there's still a connection going on, and the connection is going right through the third eye. And I crossed my legs, and I'm sitting here with my feet crossed, and I'm thinking, maybe I want to uncross my legs at this point because it's tending to short circuit something. And that helped a bit. It took the energy down to a lower level, which became more physical, more of what I'm used to feeling with Tai Chi. I have to be careful when I say that because there are varying degrees of Tai Chi that I do too. When I'm working in the physical end of the Tai Chi is one thing. When I'm working in the Taoistic end of the Tai Chi with the energies, the higher energies, it's completely different. So there's a full range of sensations that are understood depending upon where you're at in your development. And I've been lucky enough through Master Liao and through other practices. I'm not just a Tai Chi person. You might have heard through Anthony that I am also tied with Rita out in California, or Seattle now. It used to be California. Rita is another person who is, he talks through Jay-Z, and he's here to teach us, not as a god or as anybody from the other side, but as somebody who knows how to do these things and can do them and can show you how to do them. Wow. And that's a very interesting route to go to. And it combines, the philosophies are all the same once you get past a certain point, whether you're doing Tai Chi, whether you're doing, the fellow that came in was talking about Qigong. Qigong, the word Qigong means, it's 2 words, it means Qi work, which is the same as what Tai Chi means. Tai Chi just means ultimate work, kind of a situation. It's all the same thing. It's energy work. It's always energy work, and it's all the same. It's all combined. When we do Tai Chi, we're doing Qi Kung. When you do some of the Ayurvedic stuff, yoga, Qi Kung, it's also Tai Chi.
Mm-hmm.
The difference is in Tai Chi, you're actually moving. With Qi Kung, you try and maintain a position and you're in a meditative state. It's the compartmentalizing that's taken place over centuries. That the knowledge was vast, and different people became very, very highly capable at certain aspects of it. And so they took those things and they compartmentalized them and they put slightly different names on them, but it's all basically the same thing. So is what you're doing here. This is bringing us into a scientific age.
Mm-hmm.
That's very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
We do a lot of, when I go out to talk with Ramtha and hear his side of the situation, there's an awful lot of conversation that shows how science right now, the top level of physics, is getting into these kinds of things. They're getting into the understanding of how the mind works. They used to think that the mind couldn't reproduce the cells in it. The brain was dead. If you killed a brain cell, it would never be repeated. Totally wrong now. The cutting edge of brain technology in the sciences, in the known sciences today, shows that the brain has what they call neurogenesis. It regenerates itself. It regenerates the cells. It has what they call neuroplasticity. That's how they're now understanding how a person who's had a stroke can have a dead part of the brain, mm-hmm. but come completely out of it. Is because the brain can either refabricate itself or it can transition with what they call neuroplasticity mm-hmm. into the other cells and actually create the neural nets that are necessary to carry on your everyday life and do that. And there's a whole bunch of books out now that are from some of the leading investigators or researchers in those areas that are just proving all of this stuff. And quantum physics is starting to prove the concept of non-locality and mm-hmm. Things to the point where everything that we're doing right now is starting to get a scientific proof. Explanation mm-hmm. and proof of it.
The energy around us and inside it. Right. That's amazing.
Yeah. The simple thing to remember is that absolutely none of this exists. We see it in our mind as it's energy vibrating at certain frequencies. If you want to change it,
change it in your mind. Change your mind.
Change your mind,
wow,
and it's gone.
Love it. Yes, absolutely.